So work. I worked in a corporate environment for a long time, a corporate environment. So where I'm from, it's predominantly you don't see a lot of people that look like myself. When you work in a corporate environment and when you deal with customers or clients or whatever, there's telephone etiquette or there's a presentation to be had. The common things that I've experienced that also, once again, I've gone through my schooling system. I've gone through the schooling system, got decent education in comparison to what people may have expected. And now I'm getting into the adult environment and I'm hearing things like, oh, you don't sound black. When I speak to you on the phone, you don't. I'd say these are genuine things that have happened. Or I wasn't expecting you.
Yeah.
Or for me, there's a.
We can relate to that, man. Everyone can relate to that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pretty sure. No, I'm sure you can. And there's a time, a team away day, where everyone's relaxed, so you kind of go. You don't have to wear maybe office attire. And there's a picture with me and like one of the senior guys, or what, like within our team, like my boss's boss, basically. And that picture was referred to as if the senior guy was talking to his drug dealer, probably because.
Wait a minute.
Probably because I was wearing glasses and a flat peak.
Wait, my G.
Or examples like where. This one gets me.
People think they can get away with that, man.
This one gets me every time, and it wasn't aimed at me, but it actually is aimed at me when you think about it. Everyone's aware of Tim Westwood, yeah, like the DJ.
DJ.
Well, there was a conversation, and by the way, guys, like these are just snippets of countless kind of experiences. Like, so I'm not just like thinking, oh, these are the only things that have happened. But this one makes me laugh because we know who Tim Westwood is. Like we just know Tim Westwood. If you don't, Google it, whatever. Other search engines are available.
Harasser.
Yeah, don't be Googling it at the moment, though.
Okay, but we know what he's known for. And there's a conversation within the team. And one lady said, "Oh, I can't stand Tim Westwood because he's a white guy that tries to sound black." So by the letter of the law, considering I'm sitting in that environment, yeah, and just by corporate standards, I don't sound black. That means Tim Westwood's blacker than me, doesn't it? Because if he sounds black, but you're saying that amongst someone that obviously doesn't sound like Tim Westwood, what am I seeing? Like through your lens, lady, what am I? So once again, these, like I said, and there's many more. But they're just certain things that I've had to experience where you just sit and you're thinking, oh my word, like, and once again, that's just that whole environment of what's the risk reward challenging it. Well, we're not going to get into kind of the responses that we had on these, but they're the situations that you're put in, and that once again, they're things that shape who you are. So work, guys, who wants to shout?
I'll jump on that. So for mine, it was right on the first day of work. I've gone through the interview. This was for my first job while I was at college. So I thought I'll get a retail job, part-time, and gone through the interviews, everything done. You got the job. Brilliant. Good news. Now bring in your paperwork and then we'll get you through induction. So I'll bring my passport, green passport with a visa in it, and straight away, you could see the faces, right? And I remember the manager at the time was like, "Oh, I don't think we can take this." I'm like, okay, why? Because we don't know if it's real, if it's a real visa. We had an issue before where someone had a fake visa. So to me, I'm like, wow. So, okay, fine, you can check. Yeah, what we need to do is you'll need to get confirmation from Home Office to say that this is legit. So I was so confused because this was the first time it had happened. And sometimes it takes you a while to actually sit back and play things through. That's what I've always been like anyway. There's some situations that will happen where I will then
reflect
on it after a little while and then really digest the whole thing.
I'm just another point. Please carry on with that. But that's another example of the fact that there's a lot of times, and the listeners will kind of understand, there's a lot of times when we have to sit back and reflect, because why is that? Because if we react probably a certain way, we're going to be one step away from not getting that job that you've worked hard to get, or one step away of getting a disciplinary if you were to not if you were to take that time to kind of sit back, you know what I mean? So that's another example of when something hits you so much. Sorry,
100%.
Carry on.
100%. And no, not at all. No, so it's a good point. That is a very, very good point. Because to me, I was in such a confused state that I was like, okay, yeah, I'll ring home office and I'll get that confirmed, right? And I've gone home and I'm speaking to my mom. She said, "Oh, how did it go?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's what they said." I was like, "Yeah, home office don't confirm to you that it's fake or not. Them is your employers will have HR department that will deal with these things if they've got it in question." So I'm like, okay, but she said I need to find out. So me now, I'm questioning my mum, what she's telling me. I'm doubting my mum, and I'm ringing home office. Look, this is the situation. The lady on the phone was like, "We don't confirm. Your visa has got details on there. Their HR team will get in contact with us. No problem." Right?
So they sold you a unicorn.
Of course. But to me, I was like, so I don't know how to take this. Do I go back or do I just leave it? Because now, after sitting on it for a little while, I was raging. Because it then dawned on me, like, hold on. So you've labeled me already as a fraud, as a forger, and amongst other things, just by the sheer fact that I have a different passport to what you expected. Then coming to my current job, I'm an engineer, so we'll go to people's houses. And I remember going to this house in particular. You know, you get to the front door, you can see that they had swastikas, they had the Confederation flags and all sorts. So straight away, your gut will tell you, here we go, this is going to be fun. And the fact that alone tells you is a problem, because you shouldn't be feeling like that to start with. So I knocked on the door anyway. This guy opens the door, he looks me up and down, and he goes, "I don't want your kind in my house," and slammed the door. So
wow. I
was like, fair enough, no problem. Walked away. Rang my manager at the time. I'm like, this is what's happened. And as they do, he was mortified. I was like, I can't believe that's happened. Why? And I explained the situation. I said, no problem. He said he didn't want me in the house. But I know the reason why he didn't want me in the house. The way he looked at me, as if I was a piece of dirt on his shoes. As if I wasn't worthy to even step into his house. And I'm looking at your house. I'm looking at the exterior of your house, and I'm thinking, if only you knew that I'm in a better position than you are. I've got all the details I can see, but I felt so
humiliated.
Yes, 100%. It was humiliating, and I'm thinking I should go there and chin you. That's the first reaction to me. After I had literally sat in my car for 5 minutes, I was like, I should go in there and chin you. But then if I had done that, I'll be one step away again, wouldn't I?
Of course.
Exactly.
Because I've now reacted. I'm now the aggressor.
Wow.
So yeah, man, those were just a few incidents that's happened. But there are loads of things, man. There are remarks that will be made. There's always a joke here and there about, oh, black people are always late. They're not on time. You know, things like that. That sometimes I feel like we then get desensitized, that you just brush it under the carpet sometimes.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't.
We shouldn't. But I think the narrative, as I said at the start of the podcast, I think that's changing. Like, we're not the silence, and it's not been complete silence, but I think there's now more of a platform and a uprising
Yeah, it's a positive awareness of black struggle.
Exactly.
100%. And one thing that I like is not digging out our parents' generation, but we didn't really have these conversations.
No, we didn't.
You know, so now it's a good thing that we've got the opportunity to have these conversations and build a bridge to say to the younger generations, this is what to expect, this is what will happen, this is how you react. Oh, so when they get into these situations, they're already prepared.
Yeah,
100%.
And also we can talk to our parents and say, listen, we need to know. Now we're asking you. You're not coming to us. We're now coming to you and asking and trying to see what's changed to make sure we can do better.
Yep, I totally agree.
100%, 100%. Work for me was a funny one, you know. I kind of fell into certain jobs. I feel like I kind of fell into working with young people. Also fell out of working with young people as well. As I said, that's a podcast for another time. Going into this youth working environment, it wasn't an awakening. Like I found myself mentoring, leading groups, volunteering, all that kind of things, just to get your foot in the door with youth work. And it always, if you think about it now and reflect, I was always with people or worked with people who looked like me. I was always put in charge of groups of young people that looked like me. But then if you read the say the small print or of the, I don't know, the synopsis of the class, it will be the troubled kids, the ones that need reforming so they can go back into mainstream schools, so on and so forth. So that was, I kind of fell into that. I was that square peg for the square hole, I suppose, until I became a bit more aware of my surroundings. Got to university, obviously got my degree, then went into more targeted work, and that's where my experiences started. Moving back into the rural area now, and I'm sitting there for a job interview, and it was a job where I was from originally, and a couple of the staff members I knew. So just prior to me having my interview, I saw these couple of people come out of the interview room, and I already thought to myself that you can't really be in my interview because you know me. So and it turned out that was the reason that they weren't in there. So 2 new people came in, and we're going through the interview process, and you kind of get a feel for it. Oh yeah, this is going all right. You know what I mean? They're not asking me to expand upon an answer. They're not asking me to give a different point of view or anything like that. I was being, you know what I mean? I was being full with my answers. I was there. And then it came to this one question. How do you go into a household, scenario one, you go into a household, you're assessing a family, you're doing a report, whatever. How do you know that that child is being cared for? So I'll paraphrase, but that was the gist of the question. So I answered it in the only way I know how to answer it from my life experiences. I'm there saying things like, is this the child I'm looking for? Is a child got boundaries? Is there a respectful relationship in the household? Is there a balance within what the mother and the father does? If the mother's not there, or if it's a single parent household, how are they balancing this? How are they juggling all their responsibilities going across it? Do you know what I mean? Is there, like I said, respect between the mother and the child? Has the child got manners? Is he coming correct, basically, you know? Everything that was installed in me when growing up, everything that was installed in me from if my mother, so to speak, didn't have a love and a care for me, she wouldn't be installing discipline. There wouldn't be boundaries. There wouldn't be a respect between me and my mother, how we speak. That was all installed through love. Now, when I relayed that question back to the panel, they wanted to fish more out with me, keep fishing. And I'm there trying to, I don't know, I didn't deviate from anything that I said. And the interview finished, and I got a call back like a couple of days later. The lady called me and said, unfortunately, you didn't get the job. but you only missed out by half a point. I'd like to invite you in to speak to you, and hopefully you take a position of shadowing the team until the next spot comes up. I said at the time, I said, yeah, I'm excited to come in and give it feedback and all that. Little did I know, when I got back to this said building, she took me in a room, she sat me down, and she said, before we start, I want to apologise. And I'm like, I've been in a few interviews by this time, I've never had this. I was like, I want to apologise. I was like, okay, what for? She goes, until I sat down and went through your answers with another colleague from the same ethnicity, I didn't realise that what answers that you were given to said question were more than perfect. If anything, they were more insightful than the candidate that got the job.
Wow.
So I sat there and we talked about it for a little while. She said, everything that I was saying earlier about, discipline and the love that you install and the things that come with this was the exact answer that should have been given. But because that wasn't written down on their perceived answers on their sheets of paper that they had, I didn't get the points.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? So the perception there is that, did you think that I wasn't loved or cared for when I was a child, and all these things that were installed in me for me to even get in this chair and sit in a interview room with 4 people panel, to have this interview, to have the prospects of getting this job. Like, was I a loveless child?
Apparently, that's the perception. That's the
See,
perception.
this is the thing, because I've got to a position now in work where I am in a position to interview people, and I know what they're saying about the guidelines and the tick boxing. So you've got that. It's a guideline. It's not literally strictly this is what the person has to say.
Yeah,
it's a
not a
guideline, but also you also have to apply then your own common sense and your own take on what this person is saying, and try and understand that. So for me, it's like, hold on, were you even qualified enough to be interviewing me? Because if you were, you would, no, seriously, if you were, you would know, okay, this person is saying this, but you're translating it to, okay, what's on this paper? So, okay, I can tick that because they've covered that indirectly or directly, whichever way you look at it. But what that person did was, okay, you've not said what I'm looking for in the box, and I also can't relate to you because I've grown up in a different environment. So therefore, what you said is wrong.
Employment. Once again, that's there's so much more to come from just these discussions, and hopefully that this is opening up the avenues of the journey that we're trying to kind of explain, just to kind of understand where we're coming from. The word you use, the word there, T, about being related, like I can't, or being able to relate, that happens to this day. People are being employed just because it's easier to employ them because they look like them. That looks like my son. That looks like my uncle, cousin, whatever it is. You might, and I don't want to get into it because once again, it's so complex.
100%.
But as a snippet, because I like to give teasers. Everyone knows like I'm a teaser kind of person when it comes to promoting something or whatever. But about 3-4 years ago, I started putting my picture on my CV, and there's only one, and I'll leave it at that, and we'll move on to Jay, like in terms of your experiences. But the reason why I'd done that, there's only one reason I done it. So yeah, stay tuned, people. Jay, what are your experiences from working?
Well, I've always worked from a young age, paper round, worked in telesales, retail. I've always had a weird relationship with work because I am more creative by nature, I would say. So always had aspirations and the intentions of being in the entertainment industry, which is what I went to university for, and eventually got a chance to work in that industry. Being there, I realized there was pros and cons. The pros is because I had more insight into the type of music people wanted to create. But also being black, it still came with those stereotypes, especially as a black musician, black rapper. People literally only thought I would rap about selling drugs and calling women bitches and hoes, pardon my language, and got the N-word in every other bar, etc., etc. So I had to face that in the entertainment industry, which kind of led me to taking a back seat, not taking up some opportunities because I thought as a black man I would have to compromise myself in more ways than one. So I didn't want to compromise myself in any shape or form or fashion. So that kind of let me take a more independent role when it comes to the music industry. But while doing that, I had to pay my bills. I had to live, and I found it after university. I found it really hard to find a normal job, man. Even down to cleaning, even down to working in bars, in restaurants. I found it really hard. It was a period where it was like 4 or 5 months. Just unfortunately, you didn't get it. You're too overqualified. That grinded my gears to the point where I used to be in tears and anger, hearing you're overqualified.
Which means what?
To this day, like, even though I know what it means, but I still don't know what it means. How can someone tell you're too overqualified for a cleaning job or an admin job or something? Bear in mind, I remember one time I went for a job to be a PA, a personal assistant. And at this time, I had just come off, I'll leave some of you lot know, at one point I was a team leader of PAs. I had 8 PAs under me. I was 18 years old, working in Loughton, which is like a proper posh bougie part of right on the border of Essex and London. I was 18. I had a team of PAs, and they were making booking appointments for occupational therapists, social workers, etc. We was doing a project for Essex County Council, a really successful project, and that was on my CV. And I remember just for a simple PA job for business people, for companies, like, unfortunately, overqualified. And I remember, what is it? What am I doing wrong? Like, am I not good enough? Not even getting to the interview stage. And I remember one day, I just decided, I saw this job for an office. I thought, okay, I'm going to apply for it twice. One of them, I'm going to put my ethnicity, and the other one, I'm going to omit my ethnicity. Same information, same qualifications, same education, same experiences. I got an email for the one where I put my Black Caribbean, unfortunately. But for the one where I omitted my ethnicity, I got a call in for an interview. And I went to that I went to that interview.
Oh my word.
I knew at that point I had no intention of even wanting to work there, but I just wanted to see the look on their face.
A social experiment.
Yeah, literally. That's what I called it a social experiment. I wanted to see the look on the face. I went through, sat through reception, blah, blah, blah. And the woman came out, called my name, and she looked up at me, and she kind of like fiddled in her paperwork.
Terrible, isn't it? It's terrible. But you know,
Yeah.
I jump on the. Go on.
Yeah, no, carry on. What was you going to ask?
I was going to say, I jump on the back of what you're saying, because I kind of had a bit of a checkered past with employment myself.
Mhm.
And I remember, you know, as a young man, I worked for Siemens, and it was out in Milton Keynes because I'd grown up in Bedford, so I'd travel to Milton Keynes. And I'd worked there for 2 or 3 years, let's say. And I remember the job was I was an administrator, and basically just general office duties and writing the odd little thing. And my manager was a guy called Stephen, and he came from Northampton. And one day there was this particular site was quite big and really nice and quite plush, lovely buildings. So this particular summer, they had a sports day, and I'd only just got into the company, and I was like, oh, I'm thinking to myself, I don't expect too much. But anyway, the sports day. So my manager said to me, "Are you coming along to the sports day?" So I was like, "Yeah, okay." I thought, don't want to be antisocial. Kind of come along, play the game. So I went along, and I said, we're playing football. There's going to be like 5-a-side or whatever it was. Oh, so he said, "Did you bring a kit?" And I did, but like I'd said to you guys earlier, I was pants at football. And so I thought, I'll play. Well, they were supplying kits and all that. They were supplying their own kits, and you're playing against another Seaman site, which was in Nottingham or whatever. Anyway, bear in mind, I'm new there. And so what happens is the guy says, referee blows the whistle, and they go, "Oh, I'm a substitute. Come on." And I don't have the ball 2 minutes. Bang! I'm tackled, slide tackled, and I'm out. I'm kind of hobbling off. They started to sing, "Ian, right."
Wow.
Not quite.
Oh dear.
Ooh, wow.
Bear in mind, I'm new,
What?
and I don't know. And I thought to myself, look at how humiliating. How humiliating.
Wow.
And you think to yourself, look at that.
I was gonna throw hands.
I said,
And Ian Wright's my as well. That's my footballing idol. But boy,
I know.
Nah, I'll be throwing hands, bro. I don't even care.
I'll tell you, but no. I think if you listen to this podcast, I'd always thrown hands, and it never got me anywhere. So on this occasion, I kind of refrained from doing that. But I know what you're saying. It's frustrating.
that position,
once again,
that position of being probably being the only one, and there's no one to about. There's not even even if there's another person that could kind of feel your pain, not even necessarily stand up, but just be there to kind of like, okay, just so you've got that connection to know, we know it's wrong.
Yeah.
Even in that oppressed state, like to have someone there that makes such a difference, and it goes back to
huge difference.
It goes back to like even if I had that moment at school again, like when that girl was doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo, even if there's some person that actually understood what the word meant, that would just give me a little bit more.
It would make you. It would ease your anxieties.
There you go.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Sorry, Kay, I'll cut you off. Or Jay, carry on. Jay, you were still going on anyway.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up. So, like, I had experiences like that. That was, like, to me, one of the most in the work world when I realized, even to get a job, I was fully qualified. I had experience as well as qualifications that it didn't matter. So so that's one of the reasons. I mean, I've faced it in other jobs. Most recently, I was working for TV license in London.
Boo.
But I was sent to the poor black areas. Just to be frank, I was the only black young man on the team, and because of that, I honestly believe I was sent to all the poor black areas, i.e., Brixton, Lewisham, all those areas where it was people who wasn't. I was sent to all the council estates because if you know London, you know Brixton has some really nice places in Brixton, some really rich.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the other side of the road in the tower blocks, having to face those people.
Around on that day.
But no, they was around, but they want to fight me. Like I would literally be like, I have to take abuse. And
the thing is, that speaks into this, Jay, that you're expendable. And not only that, but you can speak to your own.
Yeah.
You can deal with your own better than we can deal with you type of people. So if we employ you, you can speak to them and, you know what I mean, get that rabble to civilize more than us. And if it goes wrong,
they ain't gonna hurt you as much. So I mean, like,
it's not one of us though.
So, but needless to say, I left that job anyway. So the work environment mixed, but I have definitely experienced the bad side.
Okay.
Trying to get a job and stay employed.
See. Okay.
Yeah, I've always worked from young. Always been a little bit innovative as well. I remember being young and just going age 12, age 13, just knocking on doors, asking people want to have their cars washed. That was me. And cutting people's lawn, doing chores around the home and stuff. That's when I started working from young. Technically, when I wanted to earn some pocket money, that's what I would do. I would try to do certain things around the home and get a little pound, etc. This then shifted on into the adult world. And I remember one situation when I was working, I believe I was in sixth form then. And I was asked, so I was working as a cashier, and I was 16. And I really remember when I was working as a cashier at the age of 16, I was asked on the tenor, you know when they press the doo-doo, may such and such come to do this and that. Yeah. And I was asked to go and clean out the toilets because they flooded the customer toilets at 16. Keeping in mind, I didn't realize that there was certain laws and policies in place where you couldn't handle certain chemical products and you couldn't deal with human waste unless you were trained. And not only that, but the shop I was working for also had a hired cleaner that was working that same day. She didn't want to do it though. So rather than her doing her own job, they called the tenor and called my name out loud and said that I had to come and clean out the customer toilet. So I got given all the product, and I honestly didn't know what my rights were, what I could and couldn't do, etc. I just done it because I thought as soon as you pay me, I've got to do as you say. I know that's not true now. So I go in and I clean out, and when I say the toilet was flooded with number 2s, I mean that. Yeah. And I remember going home, I basically felt like what I cleaned out. Let's just say that. Because I just felt dirty. I just felt less than, and I questioned, why didn't the cleaner do it? Like, you're literally a cleaner. You applied for the job knowing what you would do, but no, I had to do it. So when I went home and I explained this to my mother, she was quite frustrated at me on the simple fact that I didn't even stand up for myself. I didn't speak up for myself, and she didn't raise someone like that. However, I felt because you paid me and because you had a title that was above me, I had to do what you said when I said it.
You can't be knocked for that because you were a young person and you were 16 years old, like you eloquently said. So you would have been, there would have been a lack of knowledge.
Right. But there was something inside me that said it was wrong though. And it was that I didn't speak up to, because I was more afraid of angering my manager.
Yeah, but that's your youth, isn't it? That's your youth and inexperience. That's your inexperience.
Yeah, I guess so. But I just didn't want to lose my job. I just didn't want to have to go home that day saying that I'm out of a job. So
yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, but this was then taken up by my own mother, and my mother went down and spoke to the manager there because I didn't know what the process was, and that changed how I was treated within that workplace.
Yeah.
I noticed I was not having to walk on eggshells anymore, and I was encouraged to speak up for myself. I was encouraged to say, if something feels wrong, say something. Yes, I'm still learning to this day and how to say things, because I don't give a damn how people feel or think about me. When you've done something to wrong me, take what I'm saying to you, man.
Yeah,
that's how I feel. Yeah. So I've probably still got a little bit to learn there in terms of tactfulness,
we all have
in terms of speaking in certain ways and such. But why should I have to care about how the hell you feel when you've done me wrong? Why should I have to care how you feel, man?
Yeah, it's true.
So that was one aspect. Then going into other aspects now, these are direct ones. Working as an apprentice electrician. I'm sure some of you lot know this. I went to college and I studied for nearly 3 years. I didn't actually fully qualify under the City and Guilds because the placement didn't finish for reasons that I'm about to explain. So I've paid for it myself, by the way, out my own savings because I've always worked. And I got to my final year in my final placement, and I was working on building a university, the extension of the university, because it was a college then and it got turned into a university. So I come into work one day. So I was working with this electrician who was just fine, by the way. White Caucasian male, he was just fine. He was showing me the ropes, how to do things. We were getting on just fine. Yeah. One day I'm working now, just like any other day, I'm working up the ladder, fixing the lights, doing the light fittings on the circuit. He comes up to me and he tells me that the other electrician on the site kept asking him, was that black boy causing him any trouble? Now, they knew my name. I've been working there for months. So I wasn't that black boy to them, just as they weren't that white man to me. But I was referred to as the black boy. And that
could be causing trouble.
That could be caused. Is he causing you any trouble? Was the exact words. Is that black boy causing you any trouble? After months of working there, after over 2 years of being trained as an electrician, yeah, my skin stood out more than my skills. It didn't matter whether I was doing the job right. Yeah. And lo and behold, coming up to a point, and one of my boys knows this because I came to his home that same day. When I went to enter the job site a few weeks later, we had a hand scanner where you had to put your hand on and it read your fingerprints and it would open the metal gates. Yeah. So this colleague's in front of me, about 5:30 in the morning, 6:30, I can't remember now. Everyone's putting their hands on, beep, and they're walking through. Now, I've done this many days. Now it's my turn to come up and put my hand there. What?
Declined.
I try it again. Okay, so now I think there's something wrong with my hand. So I'm trying to wipe my hand now, and I'm letting my colleagues go through first, because maybe there's a fault on the machine, right?
No.
So
they've denied you access control, haven't they?
That's my point where I'm coming to. So it cuts to a point where, we'll get the supervisor. So the supervisor comes and talks to me through the gate. He doesn't even come outside. He talks to me through almost like I'm in prison. Wow. He talks to me through the metal gate, yeah, and says, sorry, mate, you've been let go. Why? You've been let go. But why? You're not asking the question. You've been let go. He just repeats himself. Yeah? Now, I can only put 2 and 2 together because before that, there was no problems. After that statement was made about me being that black boy possibly causing the electrician trouble, I'm now denied access. Now, once again, out of embarrassment, I don't go home, do I? I go to my friends and I stay around his home because I can't bear to go home and say I'm out of a job. And not only I'm out of a job, I can't qualify as an electrician, which I'm so close at doing. All I need is another 60 hours work and I can be a qualified electrician. And I've spent money to try and qualify myself. And now that money's gone down the drain. That all led to me experiencing unemployment. So, yeah, that was a direct one. One was an indirect, and I gave a direct example.
Wow. And
wow.
I'm sure, just like me, that is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the amount of experiences that you've faced in the employment sector, just like everyone here. And that's the problem. And I think I think to kind of wrap up what this is about and why it was important to kind of just get these journeys, initial journeys, because there's journeys within the journey. So I don't want people to think that this is the only thing we'll be talking about, but it has shaped why there's 6 of us speaking right now. How was so just using those experiences as the baseline or as the tip of the iceberg, but putting everything else in that we haven't discussed today, how has that made you? So the very man that is on this podcast right now, and the man that you maybe want to let the world hear and see, what good and what bad, or maybe indifferent, what of those experiences made you as a person, as a man, as a black man in this country?
I,
Because sorry, go for
I
it.
think for me, it's kind of strengthened my reality and my belief in myself. To be honest, I think those pitfalls that I may have suffered early on have just strengthened my resolve. I don't think it's obviously at the time it impacts you negatively, but I think with hindsight, I think I've become a better person because I've been able to rise above it.
Love that.
Yeah, that was profound. You saying that, right?
Yeah,
That was
100%.
profound.
You're a better man than I am, because for me, I don't know. I think I'm just more cautious of what people are doing around me, and because of that, you can come across as tense or as negative sometimes, because you know sooner or later something is going to be said. Someone's going to say something, and you got to be ready to either defend yourself or do something, you know. And trust, I think most of us on here can say there isn't really a lot of trust in the system
100%.
when
Yeah.
it comes to employment. You know, there are things
When
that
it
will
comes to
happen
anything,
because,
I think
Yeah.
I think any aspect of life, I think there's a lack of trust.
100%. Because if we're experiencing this from education all the way through to employment
There you go.
and above, it just shows that, okay, there are issues there that have not been addressed that we can't just let slide.
No, you're right. You're right, and I think this is one of the reasons why we're here. And I think all those experiences and what people need to understand, and I say people, and also I include myself in that, is when I say experiences, I don't just mean the experiences you face. Like when one of my friends goes through something, I go through that. When one of my friends is hurt or happy
100.
or sad, I go through that. So like I've always had a saying, like you don't have to experience something to know what that feels like, or you don't have to go through it yourself to be able to not learn from something. Like, so for example, growing up, if I saw one of my elder brothers and sisters do something that obviously my mum didn't like, I don't have to kind of do the same thing to kind of then get in trouble by my mum to learn. No, I'm going to observe and go, right, that's actually impacted my mum that way, their action. So you can learn from other people. So same way you can learn from other people, you can feel and get experience from other people.
Yeah,
So
100%.
all these experiences, some that I didn't know of, some that I do or did know of, they have shaped me. They have made me. So when one of my friends have gone through something, that's made me feel a little bit more less trusting, because if he's going through that, I know that I am one step from going through that same thing. You feel me? So all these experiences that I've faced, and then when I can relate to other people and they're saying the same thing, it makes me kind of internally kind of want to shell up, because that's the only way to survive. That's a survival mechanism, because I know that any given moment I'm one step away from another kind of throw, another kind of jab, another kind of emotional kind of punch that I have to absorb, obviously, because we're seen as big and strong. They don't feel any pain or emotions, whatever. So
That's
sometimes
you make the best security guard in a club. That's what
but sometimes we play, because that's happened so much. We believe in that parody of, oh yeah, we are the big strong. Yeah, that is, because that's all we've.
Well, yeah, that narrative has always been created for us.
Exactly. So
100%.
I agree with you. I also agree that it has made me a better person, because it's made me just kind of refine the people and environments that I want to be in. And it wasn't until just before turning 30 where I really had clarity in where I want to go with my life in terms of putting myself in uncomfortable, because I had a choice now, like schooling, work and stuff like that. Yeah, there's an element of control, but outside of that, and also within those environments, I said to myself, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to go to that place because I'm going to be uncomfortable for X, Y, or Z. I don't want to be around these people because it's going to make me feel uncomfortable. I got to a point, and maybe it is late in comparison to other people, but I said to myself, as much as I can control it, if I don't want to do something or whatever, then I'm not going to. Or I'm going to, because I now have a choice and I'm old enough to kind of make choices and decisions where that's just like, a lot of times we put ourselves in situations that we know the outcome is not going to be positive. In terms of going on, I don't know, work events where you know that something's going to be said, or like after work nights out or stuff, or where it's just going to be, you're going to feel isolated because one little thing's going to be said, or people are going to have a little bit of a drink, and it's just like, okay, when the tongue starts getting a bit loose, and then once again, is that something that you absorb? So instead of me knowing that that's an outcome that's probably going to happen, and I'm going to be the one where everyone turns around to look to see my reaction, I just won't be there, because then that solves the problem for everyone, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But it's made me a better person, because it's, like I said, it's allowed me to kind of refine who I am around, the environments that I'm in, but also the future that I want to build. So, and that's why I'm here, and that's why we're talking, and that's why we talk, and that's why we want to build, because I've found the people, I've found the environments that I see success in long term, and I see success for me, but even greater success for my children.
Very interesting. Very
Couldn't have
interesting.
said it better, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, from my side, I guess, how has all this shaped me? Well, I guess I can start from the age-old saying, and if you know where it's from, then you know. If I start from that age-old saying that oppression can make a wise man mad, that's how I feel after my ridiculously high amount of experiences from all walks of life, and I'm angry, man. I'm not even gonna pretend. I'm angry at how treatment from my ancestors are continuing to this day, and it's not changed. And we as a people have expected the answers to come from the same people that are doing the pain, doing the hurting. And it turned from me being a person of anger to a person of rage, man. And rage is something different, man. If you've ever felt rage before, it's something that can steer you to do two different things. And this is my one step away. It can steer you towards wanting revenge. And I'm speaking clear cut here. It can lead you to wanting revenge for what's being done to you and your people, to your ancestors. To when I can remember still, when my father got to tell me that I should have to cut my hair, to cut my afro, to cut my cornrows, to cut my dreads, just so I can get a chance to live like the next person who don't look like me. Why should that be an option? Why is that a consideration for my father to tell his son that he's got to change himself just so he can live, man, so he can survive? That sort of shit gets me, man. It gets me big time, and that leads me to rage, man. Now, I've learned throughout my life through having my peers right here to turn that into something that is greater than the basic primitive form that we spoke about. Now, for me, I'm focusing that in one direction and one direction only, to add knowledge to my people, to build us up, to become a people that is sustainable amongst ourselves. That's where my rage leads me to. That's a focused, controlled rage. Now, that can go one of two ways, but I believe that this way is a better way of using my emotions that I feel to build up something that is sustainable, where we don't have to be on our knees begging anyone else to better ourselves.
Yeah, man. I hear that.
100%.
100. And that was 100. That was 100. Straight cut.
Definitely. It was deep.
Cool. Any of the other guys before we wrap up?
No, I'm good. I think most of what's been said, but
I think for me, my experiences have made me a bittersweet man.
That's what it is. I love that. I love that. Bittersweet.
Yeah, I'm bittersweet or sweet bitter, depends who you ask.
Yeah.
Most people know I'm quite inviting. I'm not really, no matter who you are, what you are. If you need something, then I could provide it more 9 times out of 10. I will try my best to do that, regardless of who you are. But in that sense, I'm not naive to what is going on, what has been done. I'm not naive to people's personalities and certain types of upbringing, how that can affect me. So, yeah, like I said, it's bittersweet. There is the lovey-dovey, happy side of me that everyone could enjoy, but then there's also a side of me where everyone could feel the sting if I'm prompted to do so. And I try not to go down that path because obviously that makes a one step away from a whole lot of disasters can happen that way. So I try to steer myself away from that sort of thinking, which I think is emotionally and spiritually draining as a man to have to deal with that, as well as being able to survive, being able to provide for yourself and for your family and do the things that you want to do in life. So having that added dimension of thought, of feelings, yeah, has made me bittersweet. I think that's the best way I can explain it, man.
yeah,
For me personally.
I hear that. Onto the back of that, coin a phrase that my granddad teach me. He said, "Shell, if you ain't on the horse, row the cow." Yeah, and in meaning that, he take make do. Yeah, if that you had the luck with the ignorant people, go down and left them. Yeah, if that people don't let you face, go down and left them. Yeah, because you here, you gotta do what you got to do. Don't mind the body, do you. And all of that stuck with me. Yeah.
100%.
All of that stuck with me. When I was younger, and my granddad, I come in and my shoe broke or I got a hole in this sock or whatever. He'd turn around and tell me, if you ain't got no horse, ride a coat. That didn't sink into me. That didn't sink. I think, granddad, what fools is he talking, man? I mean, what fools is he talking? But as you get older, you start to realise, he said, you know what, yeah, that encompasses so much.
Does.
Yeah, that encompasses so much. Because if my horse is dead and broke, what I mean, just life stops.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? You gotta make do. Do you know what I mean? You gotta make do. And we've had other conversations where it's like, before I think I don't have time to be down. I don't have time to even reflect on what's happened today, let alone last week, or think about what I'm gonna do tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Because if I stop, being at this ripe young age that I'm at now, if I stop, a whole heap of things can fall places that they don't need to be. I mean, my kids can be one step away from not having a consistent father.
Jeez. Yep.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? And that's on a plethora of things that we can go into when it surrounds that. But
which we will.
Which we will. Yeah. But that my life experiences now, and that's learning from my granddad, from my father. I'm just go male perspective now. My granddad and my father, and what struggles they've gone through. Logistically, trying to keep your head above water, logistically, is a myth. And I'm always finding answers. I'm always looking for new answers and new ways to be doing that. And I look to you guys, my brethrens, And still, my father and my grandfather, just through watching, just through observation, listening, and watching what they do, or in this experience or that experience. And I can't lie, I'm blessed to know you guys, and I'm blessed for the people that I got in my life, but I'm forever learning. My book's not finished.
Seen.
100%.
100%.
And just for the viewers, if you want the Bayesian translation, we can provide that.
You make a sport war. Let's go. I can't remember here, bro.
Oh dear.
Don't go PN 9994.
Jesus,
Yeah,
I got Carmeli up in the water and boy.
But yeah, well, that's a good conclusion, man. Boys, it's been good. It's been good.
Been a pleasure.
This journey, yeah, is to make those steps to make them positive outcomes closer and more accessible. At the moment, it's easily accessible to those undesirable. By sending one message or making one phone call, we can. I'm sure most of us here, or all of us here, could get into an undesirable situation. Yeah, but we
100%.
want to get closer to, like, by one phone call, one business call, one kind of bit of what's the word, networking, and then you've got a new opportunity for a job or something like that. That's the energy that we're on for people that don't yet understand. So the next episodes, the future episodes will start to kind of show that journey, but also tell you our experiences and tell, like I said, the younger generation, the older generation, the current generation, what to face, what you're going to expect, what you may kind of come through, but how we can get around it. Okay. So yeah, it's been brilliant. You can find us all on our social media platforms. Instagram is _step. So one as in the number _step_away_from. Twitter is the number _S_A_F. Spotify is just, if you just type in 1SAF, then you should find us. You'll see our logo. YouTube is the same, 1SAF. Yeah, until the next time, thank you. It's been a journey, and the journey's just started, and bless up to everyone. Any closing words from
let me just say this one thing. This journey didn't start tonight.
Nah.
We just pressed record.
100.
Wow.
100%.
I love that. We're close.
100%, brother.
I love that. That is a close.
No more needs to be said.
Cool.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Done now.
Best people.
Bless.